So welcome to another exploration into Earth, Nouveau, into consciousness. And good to be back and to have everyone back here. So happy, so blissful with their lamb jackets and all sorts of. There's a bit of a lamb thingy theme going on, right? So let's just jump right into this lamb theme. Where, Tanya, you were telling us about the lion lying with the lamb. Now, where does that come from?
I think there was something I remember learning as a kid in Sunday school that says, I don't know, it touches back, I think, to Revelation, where something that said something about when the lion lays down with the lamb, there'll be peace, right? And of course we all, want peace and pray for peace and feel that. Just, I feel that energy through my whole core. But we've been talking so much about the Lyrans and the lion beings that when Sandrine, is bringing all her lovely lambskin, vest and shoes and, for the warmth, it just reminded me of that when the lion lays down with the lamb, it's like we're integrating both of these parts of ourselves, the fierce love of the open heart and the softness and gentleness of the lamb. And if you look around the internet, you'll see more and more pictures of cross species friendships. Where you'll see, a lion sheltering a baby gazelle. You'll see I don't know. I just have seen a lot of examples like this over the last couple of years that have sparked that remembrance for me.
Amazing. I think that's that interspecies communication cooperation that, is something that's really coming forward, because I think with what we were saying, the activation of the Lyran energy, which is mainly the heart energy and the space holding energy, and a very fierce heart energy. It's not that feminine little lovey-dovey, kind and caring. It's a very, very fierce, like the lioness energy, that primordial feminine that is coming through now, that really invites us to let go of the remaining limitations that we haven't maybe considered yet. They're probably going back many, many lifetimes. So the layers is no longer what's happened in this lifetime, even though, the symptoms can still be found in our reality here. But the source of the problem very often goes back to very, 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 long time past lifetimes. And that fierce female energy is, and it's obviously not gender related, it's coming through our, in men just as much as the patriarchal system is finally starting to crumble, because that system was part of that simulation of that false matrix that was pretty much manipulated. So it's not just, we as well, we've probably all been part of that manipulation on some level, if we're looking, from the oneness principle. But it's now something, that fierceness in the feminine that I'm seeing with myself, and what I'm starting to learn about myself more and more, is sovereignty. Sovereignty, sovereignty, sovereignty. And really starting to understand what that actually means, and what does that actually mean with regards to the heart. Aries coming in. Yeah.
Interesting. I was just in Mexico, one of my favorite places called Isla Mujeres, which means island of women. And it was a Mayan temple to the Mayan mother goddess Ixchel. And it's just such beautiful, soft energy. And the dreaming there is just really, really intense. And for me, over the last, I don't know, a few months, one of the things I've really been doing is listening to the land more, because the land has so much to teach us. We've lost so much memory about the previous civilizations that have been forgotten to history, history. Uh, but AB talks about some of this in galactic history, but it's very interesting to me to just sit and listen. So, as I was sitting on the beach here in this place and listening, I was seeing the turmoil of the Atlantean fall. So, this place, which is off of the tip of Cancun, was one of the places that created the land bridge that went from the Yucatan through Cuba up through, like the Florida Peninsula. And there was so much destruction and fear during that Atlantean fall that Gaia was showing me, what was happening. And of course, nothing happens by coincidence. I'm reading this book series called Chaos, the Chaos series, the Nine Realms. And what I realized as I finished up book 3 last night is that this is a story of how Atlantis fell in the first place, right? People using dark magic and twisting things that created the imbalance. And so, it's almost like a channeled history lesson in a way. This is like a fiction series. And so I've been really kind of conscious of looking at those stories and and listening to Earth and feeling where we went wrong, right? As a species that started this sort of fall that's now brought us into this low frequency that we're trying to raise out of. And as we all remember, how to activate the heart, how to sit within our highest frequency light, right? We're I don't know, I think healing some of that old trauma, and maybe we don't have to fully remember it, but I think there's a major healing that's happening, and when we all commune, and we're all heart activators in some way, shape, or form, as we all kind of come together and commune, we learn more how to hold space for that.
It's interesting that you're talking about this, because the theme of destruction keeps coming in for me. And it's that balance of creation and destruction. And this goes back, I think, even to like Martina talking about bringing in the feminine energies a few months ago and how that was related around destruction. But when I had my mushroom journey, like I was asking questions as I was connected to spirit, and I kept getting shown things, and there was this underlying theme of like, we create and then we destroy, and we create and we destroy, and it's the cyclical balance. AB would talk about it as like with the fifth paradox that we're in, and that theme keeps coming to me, and I think we're on that precipice of that again. And maybe we get to choose differently this time, and it becomes something different. But that theme has been very cyclical for me in not just the Atlantean context, but looking at things off world, the angel wars, like in very unexpected times, that imagery is being sent to me to look at and to neutralize my human-like emotions around it, because part of that is a natural balance.
It's so funny, and I was just remembering I did a tarot reading before I went on vacation. I think I sent it to you, Jen, but I'll just drop it in the chat because it was just really, really funny. The two of the cards that came up were death and the destroyer, along with the heart and the mystic, right? And then the monkey, right? Which, of course, I'm a monkey. I'm born in the year of the monkey, but monkey is about like the play between those two different things. So, we have what we're deconstructing, and we have what we're creating. We have what we're intuiting, and then like the play between those different things is I don't know. I think it's all about play and fun, because if you're not having fun, then why?
That's exactly right.
So this is really interesting because, that destruction and rebirth or creation that you guys are looking at. Because when I was a Bowen therapist, or when I was still doing Bowen, when people used to come that were so, what's the word, so dense that you could feel it, whatever you were doing, it wasn't going to go through. Yeah. And then the Bowen technique is very much like, just do one move and that's it. And sometimes I chose to do the two strongest move at the same time. And one was a very, very gentle move over the coccyx. And the other one was a move here, the TMJs, around the TMJs. And talking about destruction and creation, and talking about, I came across a very interesting PDF as I was looking at sacrum, coccyx, the meaning of the 8 holes in the sacrum and things like that. And they actually look, again, a lot of Mayan, sort of references, and they talking about 2 portals, 2 cosmic portals, one in the coccyx, connect the little tailbone, that's the coccyx, and then you have the sacrum, and when you look at the plate, it's got 8 little holes, and then the snake, the spine, going up into the jaw, the teeth, especially the lower jaw. And they considering the way they described it was the coccyx, as we know the sacrum, the center of creation, was the creation and the generation portal, and the jaw, the destruction portal. So there we have it within ourselves. And I can only think, I haven't looked into it more yet, but the destruction, because we're using our teeth to destruct, to digest, not digest, but to break up the food and things like that. So we have those destruction and creation portals. We talked about portals. We have portals everywhere. In every single cell of our body is a huge fucking black hole, which is a portal at the end of the day. But it's quite interesting with that heart expansion and heart activation that we are talking about, and that sovereignty that we're starting to associate to that heart expansion, is really realizing that this physical body is the tool to become sovereign, to, essentially to create our own energy. Whatever else happens, it's no longer that sovereignty is like, okay, I don't get entangled with other people. No, we have all the portals ourselves. We are the portal. And I know we talked about this a lot, but now with the spiritual embodiment, it's quite interesting to start looking into those various, organs or, parts of the body directly, and realize that. And, talking to Isa on 2 days ago, she mentioned actually those 4 holes in the sacrum are the primordial cells. the very primordial cells that link us obviously back to the beginning when we, you know, started this whole thing. So it
Well,
links.
those original 8 cells, you know, when you have the sperm and egg come together and the cell becomes one and then it divides and divides and divides, right, into the 8, those 8 cells live in the perineum. Those original 8 cells live within that sacrum. So you have the holes in the sacrum in the bone itself, but you also have that original 8 cells that never change over the course of your lifetime. I mean, when you change your DNA, I guess it changes. But
Yeah. Well, and we all are changing our DNA because we're all upgrading it. We're all creating, we out creating the fluids in our bodies as we're working more with the plasma, as we're you know, and this is why, you know, it's good to understand certain things so that we can then start working with these things, with those various components in a more conscious level and guide it more, you know. It's like ignorance is no longer bliss. We talked about this a million times. So sometimes just having a certain knowledge about stuff like that, and then you can interpret it in your own way. You don't have to go with the definitions that are out there, but sometimes, you know, it helps to identify, decodify yourself and your imprinting, your soul imprinting, soul code imprinting or something. Yeah. Thank you. So this is the thing. Birth, rebirth, destruction. And then I think, you know, we mentioned that I think I don't know, we didn't record last time, but that use of the energy, that transformation is coming through more and more and more, you know, really responding to the energy that presents itself. And it doesn't have to be just ease. Sometimes the anger, the more intense the energy is, the more potent the transformation will be. And the acknowledgement of ourselves as potent transformers. I was like, you know, like the sounds and all the frequencies and everything that's coming in. And I was like, I've got this vibration plate where you can stand up, you know, and it just does that. And, you know, to help me loosen up the muscles and everything. And I was just standing on it. And all of a sudden I started opening my mouth and making a sound. And of course, the sound that comes out while your body is vibrating is different. You know, you don't need to do much. And I started doing this, and it got so intense doing this because the sound that came out, like, who is this? Like, came through sometimes, you know, and I'm thinking, so glad nobody's in the house because they'll think I'm completely freaking out here. And I just allowed it because I was like, whoa, really, really almost primordial sounds. Talk about the lion, talking about even the lamb, you know, those screechy sounds, and then oh, like that, and then oh, like almost like there was no harmony to it because it was, and I realized what I was actually doing. I was transmuting chaos energy, allowing myself to go into every single tonality, irrespective of how wacko or weird or scary even it sounded. And then, you know, when it was finished, I got off and said, yeah, good. What's next? Coffee. So yeah, that was interesting. But this is what, and that's a very, for me, that's a very feminine, primordial energy. And there's a lot of, and not to be misunderstood, a very creative sexualness energy to it, those deep, deep sounds. And not to be obviously mistaken with copulation or anything like that, but this primordial, deep, ancientness, that creator energy, that's how the sun comes, and that's very feminine energy, you know, that is coming through.
Yeah, another little synchronicity in what you were saying, because I signed up for a Pilates program last week, and it's called Sensualities, because it's like Pilates but with like more sensual movements. And I decided to do that one because I really wanted to embody more of my feminine energy, you know, balancing out the masculine of like the outside world. And so I think that that is part of the theme right now too.
Yeah. And you know, whoever wants to work with this, and if it comes through, you know, intuitively, don't this is, you know, it's almost like, you know, we often say we're no longer scared of the dark. It's now that we're becoming more scared of the light, that we truly are. Because how many people do not step into their potencies, because there is so much potential there. There is so much beauty there. There is so much creator. And some people just don't want to go there because they don't want to be, they want to fit in. This is very much now about allowing yourself to not fit in anymore. Because fitting in is fitting into the false simulation, the false matrix. And we have to go into the primordial matrix. We have to go back to the real matrix. It's all a matrix, yes. But we need to disentangle and take our sovereignty back from the false one.
Moonstone was the crystal card that came up for our group today. And the moonstone connects with the energy of the mother goddess.
Yeah.
So talking about that, the primordial womb of creation from which the light springs.
Yeah.
Now, I just had a funny thought, Jen, when you were talking about sensual Pilates. Martina was talking about coffee. It'd be great to have a sensual latte.
Yeah. There's so many things, so many new things that are coming through for us, right?
Yeah.
Mary, how are you doing?
I'm good. Just sorry, I want to turn off my camera there. Yeah. Talking about the sensual latte, Tanya, I remember sharing, and you probably remember this, Martina, one time, it probably was when Andrew was writing the book, that I had discovered that, you know, if an ad came on the telly for somebody smoking, or if an ad came for somebody having a beautiful creamy cappuccino, I could get the smell of it. And it was nearly like I was drinking it or I was smoking. And I actually was in the beginning, I kind of thought, God, I wonder what is that? How am I getting that smell of smoke? But I actually was. And I don't take any notice of it now at all. But it is like having a sensual cigarette or a sensual coffee or whatever. And I can't say whether it's good, bad, or indifferent because it's none of those. It just is. That's it. You know, I loved what you were saying, Tanya, about the land. I just, I have done an awful lot lately myself, I think, around the land here in Ireland. And I was down, I put up some pictures of the Wild Atlantic Way at the weekend, which was, oh my God, it was just magical. And, you know, it's like as if for me that the land and the shoreline and the sea and the energy of that never lost that primordial energy. And I love to go there, I'm sorry, and to blend with it and to nearly drink it in, I suppose, because I do definitely. It definitely energizes me. It definitely balances me in some way. And it does it whether it's wild or super calm. It's either way, it has its own kind of conversation with me. And I was even thinking about the land, you know, that I live on. and the history of the land that I live on, and what it gives, and what is it I'm picking up from that as I press the earth daily. And I was thinking about the land I was born on. And I don't know why I didn't do this before, but I did decide that actually I was going to go back to that place and I was going to make an offering to the ancestors and kind of ask for forgiveness of anything that was done to them in the past that they were unhappy with or that wasn't considered to be okay, and to ask for their blessings for the future and to bless the land and thank it for what it had given. And it was a very rewarding uh, ceremony for me. It was very rewarding because there was a lot of people that it was up high on a kind of a hill where I was overlooking the house, which is in trees where I was born. And I included all of the community in it as well as I was finishing up. But I thought, God, I should have done this before, but obviously I shouldn't. Obviously the time was right to do it now. But it's that relationship with us, I think, that we kind of get a bit separated from it a bit because of our busy lives and whatever. And that's okay too, you know, what we're doing and what we're not doing and the technology and all the rest of it. It's all good. But it's just there's something about that I personally wouldn't like to be forgotten. You know, I like to draw attention to it and bring people back to that. Because again, it's like the primordial energy, you know. I always like to kind of know that or feel that energy and know where it is that I came from. Where's the base? Where's the center? What am I about? Where did I come from? What was it that created me and shaped me? You know, and you could go on and on about all of that, you know, in terms of the places that we have been and the lives we have led and the different cultures we have known. You know, we're such an encyclopedia, really, of experience and knowledge. I suppose that's what DNA is, isn't it? Really, is memory of all of that. And it's exciting. It's exciting being here at this time as everything is getting kind of heightened in energy, you know, and everything I do feel that it is. And I think it's lovely to be here at this particular time when that's the way that it is, because we have lived in other times where we have had different experiences. But now we're so free of a lot of what held us back. I think, as you were saying, Martina, we almost need to learn how to embrace what it is we're coming into. And I'm talking from myself in that. Because, you know, being where we were was kind of comfortable, but it's not comfortable anymore for me anyway. And it's just learning how to embrace that new energy. And, you know, we were talking too about destruction and creativity. And I think after our last conversation, I was thinking too about chaos, because I sort of think chaos and destruction for me are very similar. And I do like the chaos. I am drawn to it, surely, because I sort of feel I come into my own in chaos. Everything else just fades away, and it's like, what needs to be done? What do I have to do? And I like being in that place. But I suppose chaos is an energy. You know, we were thinking about it the last time and wondering what it was. Like, there is a destructiveness in chaos because it shakes everything up, it changes everything. And even if it looks the same afterwards, I don't think it is ever the same. And I think it does create an energy where we create with it. We do create something different out of it. And I think that's what's exciting about it and why people can get kind of, you know, bit addicted to it maybe sometimes. Anyway, that's enough out of me now.
No, thank you.
Thank you. You know, you just have such wonderful insight. I really just love hearing you talk, Mary. And again, when you do, you know, I do feel the land that you're on. Do feel that space that you're holding. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Tanya. Thank you. Thank you.
Do you know what? I remember that conversation we had last time about redefining chaos, right?
Mhm.
And then what transpired was that, and just look at that for yourself right now, and the work that you're doing with the land and the ocean and everything, because there's a lot of chaos in our DNA. And as we are reordering, because activation means reordering, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
you know, and bringing sort of order into this whole thing so that they can start lighting up and so that we can actually use them. And what if your work with the land, and when you go to the ocean, that is exactly what you're doing. It doesn't look like chaos, but it's the energy of you working, you extending yourself out beyond the land, beyond the ocean. You are becoming the ocean, you're becoming the land. And as such, you're transmuting the chaos.
Yes, that makes perfect sense, Martina. Absolutely. And that's what I felt I was doing when I went to the sea last Saturday and when I went to the land. It just felt like a job. This is going to sound like self-praise, but I don't mean it as such. But it did feel like a job well done. I felt very satisfied and fulfilled afterwards.
Yeah, because and in addition to that, why did you feel self-satisfied is because you were actually honoring your mission and purpose.
Mm.
And also you are this is that oxymoron of the grounding, because grounding needs to be redefined. By you expanding out and transmuting the chaos, you are actually grounding yourself
Yeah.
and that reordering.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
the more you expand out, because I know what that feels, the more, or a lot of us, the more we are expanded out, the more grounded we are. Because it
Yes.
actually is in the word, because, you know, we
Yes.
know now that we are not a little stick figure in space, but we are space extended. And this is obviously something that I got reminded again when I met Hussein. Harriman, because that's what we are space expanded. So
Yeah.
this is also means we are black holes, because we've got the black hole in every single blood cell, plasma, nuclei, you know, inside of us. So, and if we are trying to fit into a little box, literally, the soul cannot fit into it. The frequency cannot fit into a little box. It has to be expanded out depending on what purpose you have to be here today, you know. And also, I think one more thing before I pass on the talking stick again. There is an expansion and then a contraction. The breath. Inhale, exhale. Or the other way around. Inhale, exhale. Because what I've been finding the last couple of weeks, I've been working with this heart expansion and the soul activation. I find that that I need to be either outside painting with color in my way, or of late I couldn't do that. I literally had to stay inside and do my little black and whites, very, very detailed, because I was so expanded that I had to bring myself back into the black and white and fill in the space. It was almost like, because it's so funny, the black and white drawings that I make are completely full. There is no space left, right? So I had to fill in the space and then getting back out again. So it's like, for me, it's the masculine and then the feminine expanding. So it's like, and finding joy in that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I actually noticed that your black and white drawings, although I have seen quite a few of them also flipping through your book, that those that you have posted lately have another feel to them. I noticed that somehow. And
Yeah.
everything that you have now been, you know, all of you have been talking about, I literally just experienced over the last 2 months, right?
Mm.
I was thrown. I mean, I packed the luggage, and I thought, okay, in a month I'm gonna be back, and I had to literally, you know, in Portuguese you say transtornar. You have to turn over, turn your whole being and your whole life, and that is what I did. So it was complete chaos on top of on top of, and then death occurred literally and also in a different sense. So my aunt passed. Tomorrow is her funeral, but everybody's just happy that she's relieved and released in a sense. So I noticed over the whole chaos that was in front of me how well I just kept grounded, and how well I just knew that this was now the way that I had to go. This is everything that I'm currently doing, everything that I'm touching feels right. I even I have my little office now upstairs, but it's under the roof. So actually, it's a bit cold because that's why I'm not sitting there. Otherwise, I would have showed you. I even hung up a few paintings that I did a long time ago, and it felt very right to hang them up. It was like, okay, they wanted to be back. There is a reason why they wanted to be back. There will be new ones also coming in. It everything that I touched lately is like, yeah, it's right what I'm doing, and I'm just being reconfirmed in. It's not a decision that I took, right? Because it wasn't really a choice. I mean, I could have chosen not going down the lane of getting treatment, right? But then where would I be, in a sense? What would happen then? And okay, but whatever. So now I'm just like, yeah, and I'm the primordial for me is like, I mean, the pictures of the roof of one of the rooms of the one of the 1,001 rooms in the Forbidden City in China, in Beijing, and me sitting here with my lambskin, you know, I could also put on the one of the pictures from Mongolia, and I feel just absolutely right, you know, because that energy, the Mongolian Genghis Khan energy, it's in the land, and it's just running right through me when I'm touching all the lamb and camel and what have you not. So I'm like, it's right. We need to come back with our Genghis Khan energy, seriously.
Amazing.
Can I tell a story? I am just in this theme of what the land is asking for, and also how the earth takes care of herself in ways. I did a session with Tanya when I was at the beach, and one of the things that came up with that was that Trail of Tears was coming forward as something for me to look at, which is not something I had really even thought about since school. And as I got to thinking about it, I thought, you know, I wonder if Cherokee, North Carolina was on the Trail of Tears, because I drove right through there on my way to the beach. And so I looked it up, and sure enough, it was. And that whole area was the area that got impacted from Hurricane Helene, which, you know, this is mountain territory. Hurricanes are not something that comes through the mountains, right? We're at like 3,000 feet in elevation. And so I was putting the attention into looking at that. And as I was driving back from the beach back home, and I went back through that area, I was driving, so I wasn't fully as expansive as I could be, but I still like leaned back into that to like feel what was there for me to work with, because obviously the land was calling me to do something, or my soul was calling me to do something with the land. And as soon as I laid back into that, I dropped into the body of one of the natives, and I could see the destruction of my people and the heaviness of that. And then I was back to that. Why do I keep watching destruction, right? This theme is coming about for me in so many different directions. And as I was watching that, all of a sudden I ended up in the body also one of the white men that was coming in and feeling the point of view of that, which is, you know, somebody that has come to a new place to start a better life for their family, and that, you know, they wanted to coexist, but the natives were savage, and you know, like I could see the neutrality of both sides instead of the polarity of how it felt being one or the other. And so I looked back at the native and understanding the other side, like it neutralized to peace. And I knelt down and I put my hand on the land, and like these lines of light just rolled out all over the land and like neutralized the charge of all the trauma that had taken place there. And as soon as I acknowledged that, like I felt the wind pick up and roll around my heart and roll up through the trees and through the wind. And I think that I'm not sure exactly what my purpose was in that, other than to help clear or to put some stability into that polarity that was once there. But it was a really beautiful experience driving through the mountains on my way home from the beach in a context that I never would have considered if it hadn't called to me through somebody else and what they saw. But the timing of that was very interesting too, because that was about 2 weeks after the hurricane went through there.
That
What
sounds fabulous, Jennifer.
what cleansing that hurricane came and washed away, you know, old energy. And then you were able to go through and bring the healing with the light that rippled out through the grids.
It was really beautiful. And I could feel that in my physical body, like through the cells in my physical body.
Amazing.
You know, this is like, it reminds me, it's almost like you're talking about polarity. I would almost say, instead of just creating neutrality, you really transmuted something there.
Mm-hmm.
And I like, because it's polarity going into the singularity, you know, and then from the singularity, destruction becomes creation without a separation anymore. And the spiral, you mentioning the spiral, you know, that's the plasma again, that's the activation. So, you know, as much as you transmuted it, I would also say that your heart definitely activated and expanded out at the same time. Because for me personally, when I say heart activation, for me, it means heart expansion.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like the heart's going out to expand into, to become, you know, the sea, the mountain, the hurricane, and all of that, you know. Or, you know, we can talk about the torus, right? The torsion field that just expands bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
And I mean, we through the course that I'm currently doing on the spiritual coaching, we are starting also to look at more, well, what we see as spiritual, but also, you know, more the coaching or the being of service side. And today we were asked to read a few articles that they shared with us, and it is about this triangle that exists of, you know, the challenger, the rescue, so from the bully becoming the challenger, from the victim becoming the survivor, from the there's another one becoming the coach, and to look at it more, everything that you do, in a sense, you're not fixing anything, you're not rescuing anything, you're of service to it. So I mean, those that of you that are therapeut and have therapeutic backgrounds, you know already about the setting up the boundaries when you're working with the clients. But this is very, in a sense, it's not new to me, but it's new to me. And I also understand now more and more when Martina, because every time that I'm helping somebody, I hear Martina in the background, don't get entangled with them. I'm like, I'm just helping them, you know, I just help the little old lady get, you know, the sugar from the top of the shelf, you know, come on.
Never said you don't help an old lady take the sugar off the shelf. And you know that.
I know, but you see, so I'm like, okay, I'm looking at it also more now from the service, being of service. And I also think that the whole sovereignty comes in with that as you become more sovereign in yourself. And as we are conduits and we are opening up these things, putting it also to service, right? Be it to the land. I mean, Jen, what you did there was beautiful. You just probably opened up the portal to the land for healing again, because it could finally find somebody to go through and release that part of it. Or like Mary with the beautiful things that she's doing with the land. And Tanya, when you visited there. So more and more, I also think that wherever we go and whatever we touch now, being aware of it, that, you know, there is a service that we are rendering, right, to anything that we are touching, probably, or even just sitting there, or just walking through, or just driving through.
I would say absolutely. And for me, the service rendering to something or somebody is still the separation, because it's almost like when you help the lady with the sugar, or, you know, all the three other examples we've just heard from the other ladies here, what they're doing, you become the ocean, you become the mountain, you become the place in Mexico, you become humanity, you know, in terms of that. And it's almost like this is the movement from the old perception of empathy to compassion now. And there's nothing wrong with empathy as long as we're now defining it in the right way, you know. And I think it's more important when we're seeing things that are not peaceful. That's more like it, where we then get entangled, you know. When we're seeing things that are not peaceful and we come forward with a strong point of view, it shouldn't be like that. That's then, you know, give up our sovereignty, where we're actually literally not understanding universal law, where we're not understanding, you know, the soul's journey. And it's purely an understanding, really, at the end of the day, because the kindness, the feeling, the compassion will never go away when you are a sensitive empath. And it is your super fucking strength. So much so, and this is a very important for people like us that have done that mastery journey, that have done that sovereignty journey, to now look, okay, so polarity is not, we can actually now think of singularity. And if we start thinking singularity, no longer duality, from that perspective, then we have to come back out into service. We have to come back and expand ourselves out. We have to be available again, because this is also how our heart switches on. If you are here, because you are a heart activator, as we all are here, we have to go out. We have to allow ourselves to feel the feelings. But what we don't have to do is become them. We can become them as well, but we cannot make them personal. We can just see them as energy. And I think the more we learn to just think in frequency or vibration or harmony or energy, because then the distorted simulation matrix has no hold on us, because we're working with the energy, we are perceiving it. So if I perceive intense energy, I don't give a shit if it's anger, or if it's, you know, rage, or if it's frustration, or if it's, you know, because it's just intense. What can I do with it? Let me work with it. Let me transform it. Let me turn it into something, because it's creative energy.
There's a really beautiful line from the Dune book. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear, and I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it is gone past, I will turn to the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing, only I will remain. And I think what you're saying about emotion is very similar to that. I mean, you can replace the word fear with any emotion and let it pass over you and through you and feel it and see its path and see how it heals and how it reflects back to our own, journey, our own ability of transmutation and activation. And then we go on to the next level. It's almost like a learning point for us. I can't think of the word right now.
And that's a transformation process. You've just, beautifully and very simply explained. By letting it go through you, feeling it, swirl it, spin it, add the movement to it, and it gets transformed.
That's the alchemy, right?
The alchemy.
And then the mastery is being able to know what's yours and handle that with what comes up for you without getting entangled, to use what Sandrine was saying, with what's going on around you, which I think is exceptionally in front of us right now, at least in the US this last month. I wouldn't even known it was election time if people weren't telling me. Like that didn't even touch me. But it's really spinning a lot of people out of their orbit. But I don't think that's ours to transmute either, right?
Yeah.
No, and do you know what I'm finding more and more? The more you start recognizing your strengths, the less these concepts actually bother you, because you no longer get involved with certain things. Look, there might be a time, Jennifer, when there's a hurricane somewhere, and you have to go and watch this. You have to watch this because there is something for you to do.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get involved. And I think this is what's going to just intuitively will come to us. Just like Mary said, she had to go.
Yeah.
Why didn't I do it before? Because it wasn't necessary. The land wasn't ready. You probably, it will come to us. And that's just something we have to, when it comes, and then we do it. And if it doesn't come, it doesn't come. And this is lots of people. I was talking to the hairdresser today, and he was like, okay, well, he hasn't left the house a lot. And he's just that. I said, well, that's fine. You're in preparation. I know exactly what that feels like. We are preparing for something. And we're going through those ebbs and flows where we need to prepare. And also, it's not just us. We're not isolated. This is another thing I got reminded by Hussein. It's like physics is that old physics is still looking at measuring something in isolation. There is no such thing. Even if you're sitting alone in your house, you're never isolated from the field. You're living in a quantum field. So whatever is going on outside of you will impact you. And this is where the boundaries are so important. But now, okay, so let me say this now, because we're talking about expansion. Expanding that space. We are space. And a space, we are so powerful, nothing can actually happen to us because we are literally at 99.999 space, right? Infinite source energy. So as we are now expanding our hearts, we are expanding that space even further to become the singularity, to become the ocean, to become the people, the neighbors, and everything. And we now have to redefine our boundaries, because boundaries define relationships, and everything in this reality is about relationships. We have a relation. We are in relation with someone. But now, as we're expanding our heart, as we're expanding, extending our space, the boundaries, aura, if you wish, just expands. So we have to renegotiate those boundaries. And, because he was talking about isolation and he was talking about boundaries. And I said, what's the difference, And he said, well, boundaries are all about relationships. So boundaries define relationships. Now, this is particularly important now for those who start recognizing the influx of other species. So we literally now consciously have to expand and extend our boundaries and renegotiate our boundaries with all those other species and all their cultures and all their planets that are coming in to this Earth space. So and this is what those people like us are here for, because heart activation, heart expansion is reorganizing DNA, which will, all the soul codes that are coming in as we're meeting those beings, our soul codes, our heart, our heart discs are going to fill up and then, start combining with others and all of that. But that has to be negotiated, because frankly, think about it, here on Earth, there's a lot of wisdom, there's a lot of knowledge, what we have accumulated. Now we have to negotiate and reorder our boundaries of Earth, as Earth is becoming a galactic headquarters. I mean, that's what I'm seeing, and that's what I'm here for. I'm here for Earth becoming the galactic headquarters, for bringing the species in. We don't have to bring them in, they know how to come in, but we say, okay, hang on a second, there's a bit like immigration here. All right, okay. Now, cultures. We need to bring them all. Okay, what kind of cultures? How can we integrate the various Akash? We need to start reading the galactic Akash, the universal Akash. The universal laws are coming into play here as we are starting to. And for us, this is a lot of that work is in the unseen that we have been doing all along. But we're going to now start having to do this a bit more conscious, because we need to actually bring the team together. It's not that you or you or you or you have to do this on your own, but we need visionaries. We need seeders with ideas and having an idea of what is required for the new DNA, for the new, and then coordinate this whole thing. There's other levels that need, but okay, let's just talk about this. How do you feel about this? Have you started to perceive that within yourself, more acknowledging, because you've been doing this all along anyway?
I think that living, in this city that I do, and you living in the city you do, they're international melting pots. So they've given us a grounding of dealing with people from all over the world on a continual basis. Like I can walk around San Francisco and I see people from everywhere. And London is the same way. If as humans, if we can't do that with our own people on this planet, how the hell are we going to do it with galactic species, right? And I know that we're all holding space for that. We're all holding the space to be ambassadors, galactic ambassadors, human ambassadors. And that goes back to peace and compassion, like letting people have their own journey and holding your journey, but also, we're all in this together. Okay, yeah, you're from a different culture. That's great. But there's also a coming together that has to happen somehow. We have to have that love and compassion. There's I was just looking up, there's a movie from 2015 called Jupiter Ascending. It's not a great movie, although it has the really cute, super cute Channing Tatum in it, and Mila Kunis. But it's about a woman who's born with the DNA code, who is a galactic queen. And her galactic family who lives on Jupiter is trying to reintegrate her into the galactic culture so they can sort of control her because she's like the queen of Earth. But there's a really wonderful scene in here where she gets sort of like naturalized through the galactic system. And it's absolutely fascinating and hysterical. And I think just watch it just for that. Jupiter Ascending is the name of the movie. But it's a really fun representation of soft disclosure of what it does mean to get your galactic citizenship.
Absolutely. I've actually, I've been working on integrating my heart, a heart disk. And do you know what you were just saying? It's like when we talk species, remember that every human being has multiple origins. So sometimes it's like literally going to the supermarket and standing next to somebody at the checkout, and you are picking up their Orion plasmic code or DNA code or whatever. And that's all it takes. So it's not just really, just for people to think you don't have to meet a reptile or insectoid species on the road in order to, activate your coding. But as an example, I was working on this integration of my hard disk, and I couldn't do it on that particular day because I was missing what I called plasma imprints or DNA imprints. And I had Arcturian, Orion, Lyra, all the things that came to mind, but there were some missing. Anyway, and then on Saturday, I did go to see Hussein Harriman, and then, obviously an amazing day, beautifully inspired by, that unification of physics and science and spirituality and the humbleness of this man and the beauty of, the people that were there. And anyway, so on Sunday, I thought, oh, let me try this exercise again. And I could do it. I could integrate. And I'm like, oh my God, I must have picked up the soul codes that I was missing. Obviously through him. And I do recall there was one particular, an elderly man I had a brilliant conversation with. And I'm like, hey, Grudmiller, you're talking a lot today. That's usually I don't do that, I just go somewhere and hear what is being presented, and that's it. But I really went out to speak to this guy. I now, after I realized that was required. I needed to have that conversation. Obviously, nothing like talking about soul codes or anything like that. And that's when it allowed me to merge with that particular hard disk. Now, the question is interesting then, if you work along those lines, because you could just say, okay, well, that's it now, that's it. But you could say, okay, so what have I actually integrated? What kind of background have I integrated here by doing that? Because those are those little synchronicities, those little breadcrumbs that then say, okay, that was part of the whales. The whales came up. Like, oh, ocean beings. I haven't had that in what I had written down. And then the next thing I see a channeling, oh, the whales are coming back and there's so many ocean codes. And I'm talking about, and then I'm thinking of Sandrine, the mermaid, and like, oh God, yeah, of course. But that leads you to the next level of exploration, because maybe you want to go on Google and learn about the merfolk, and all of a sudden you start realizing, oh my God, yeah, I used to do that. And that's how we need to work, right? So this is really experiential now. This is a lot of internal exploration, where, you know, you cannot share that information with that many people because they think you're crazy. You start telling them that, you know, you now integrated a mermaid. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. It's just like,
And then you just see their eyes roll back in their head.
yeah, yeah.
Because the conversation's too high frequency, you know,
Oh,
it just takes them
totally,
out of themselves.
totally. Like, you know, when I start speaking to my people in the house, they start yawning. 2 seconds later, they disappear. The bodies is still there. That's it. I'm like, okay, not even 2 sentences. Are you serious?
Well, I think after you took that photo of Nassim Harriman and yourself, you know, and you were wearing like the yellow, and I had the dream that I had, I think, after I saw that
Tell us
photo
a
of
dream.
you. In Isla, there's just like wonderful dreaming, and some of the things that have been coming up for me, it's just like review, right? Going back to the theme of destruction and recreation, like a lot of review, review, review. And so I was having this, my parents were having a party, and I don't know where we were. We were in some house that was their house, but I didn't recognize it. And all of a sudden, all these people that I had known from my past were showing up at the party. And all of a sudden, like nothing was ready. And I was like, Mom, why isn't anything ready? And so I had to go to the store and get stuff. And all of a sudden, Martina shows up. Martina's like, yeah, let's go. So we get in her car, which is a gold Prius, and we start driving. And I say, oh, Martina, we have to go there. And we pass it. And so we had to go all the way up this sort of like twisty road and around this like a roundabout that had a bunch of redwood trees in the center. And so we were turning around, and all of a sudden there's like an avalanche that's happening sort of behind us. And all of these cars are getting washed down by this avalanche of snow. And Martina's trying to turn around, and we start like spinning in a circle. And I was saying, pump your brakes, pump your brakes. And we're spinning in this circle. And all of a sudden we turn around and the avalanche is gone. And after that, we ended up going into this other place. She said, oh, I need a pint after that. And we pull into this, it was like a bar slash hotel, whatever. And it was out in the middle of the country. It was made of all like big, like redwood trees. And we walk in, and there's a beautiful pool. It's nighttime, and it's all blue and lit up. And there's a big deer sleeping right in front of the pool. And she's like, oh, what's that? I said, oh, it's a deer. And so then we ended up, you know, walking towards the bar. And I can't remember what happened after that. But then, so I told my dream to Martina. I just felt it was really important. And it was a few days later, so maybe I was missing some of the details. But you know, she sat with it and then dreamt about it. And I see that you have your gold disc behind you today, which is like
Absolutely.
the gold spinning.
The Prius, my Prius, right? My Prius. I mean, look at the symbolism. I mean, I just thought, oh, this is so fun, you know? And then I slept on it. And then the next morning I woke up and I'm thinking, oh my God, that symbolism is just amazing. And the way I interpreted it was, and this is, you had a party with all your friends and family, right? For me, it was 2 Lyran heart activators in action, right? There was a celebration. There was the party, the family, all these different codes and DNAs and everything, but we were missing some codes, right? So we're getting into the golden Prius, and that is hilarious. Golden, yes, but Prius. So here we have the contrast. So we're getting into this golden Prius, and then we're driving, you know, and when you were taught, and I distinctly remember it was an avalanche. You said avalanche, but I didn't see an avalanche. When you were saying avalanche with the cars coming down, I just saw a hurricane. you know,
Mhm.
hurricane.
Mhm.
And the plasma spin, the spin of the heart, or the plasma, you know, to bring, and the cars, I mean, the cars are electricity, the cars are like power movement, so bringing in those other codes, whatever we needed, right? And then she screams break. I'm like, okay. And we were spinning at the same time, the car was spinning, and then there was a completion. And then there was, okay, let's have a pint, obviously, because, you know, we did a lot of fucking work here, right? Doing that. And then we go in, and then we have full blue plasma. Oh, and there's the deer, the symbol of unconditional love.
You are
Gentleness.
surrounded, and she's surrounded by deer. They all live in her backyard.
Correcto mundo. And the snow, there was snow, obviously avalanche, and the snow, and I was thinking with the snow, obviously we needed a bit of cooling down, because this was like whoosh, heat, 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 plasma, plasma, spin, spin, spin. So thank you, what a journey we had.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed.
You see, and this,
Well, and after that, I was thinking, you know, I just need to tell her to pump her brakes if she's on slick ice or something, because I was thinking about you having to drive to Cornwall in weather. And I was thinking, does she know that she, you know, does she know like to pump brakes if she's like driving on ice or snow? I don't know.
and that was
Tell her that.
that was really significant, because I remember replying to you, don't worry, you were safe. You were always safe. And I'm like, well, why did I add this, you know? And then I thought, oh my God, no, we did something profound there. And obviously I knew what I was doing, and we needed to spin.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
And then, yeah, we needed to stop. We were done.
Yeah, we
But
were
this
done.
is so beautiful.
Now it's time to celebrate.
Well,
Fine.
exactly. Exactly. But this is so beautiful within this group that we have these things. I mean, Jennifer and I, we often, you know, we have these. I put up a painting and she said, oh, for God's sake, I've just been there last
Last
2
night.
years ago,
Yeah, that was the
right?
night before.
Things like that. Do you want to say?
Yeah.
You've got a bit of a delay going today, so
Oh,
Yeah, your audio syncs a little bit off.
yeah, I got a new computer and I need to get a different speaker. But yeah, there was one day where I took pictures of my roses, and the next morning Martina put her picture up, and it was like, it looked just like my roses. And so I laughed about it, but then like it was the next day, I was in Nashville at the Four Seasons for a work event, and like the view was gorgeous. So I took a selfie with the view. And the next morning, Martina's painting was of the bridge behind me. Like, this is too funny. So I messaged her about it. So then the next night I was downtown for a concert, and I thought, well, we'll play this game, right? And so I took pictures and of a few things that caught my eye, but there was one picture that I took specifically for Martina, and the painting she posted the next morning didn't look anything like it. So I'm like, oh, you know, I broke.
fuck you, no.
So I messaged her about it a couple of days later, and then I sent her the picture that I took just for her, and it was just like the painting that she was finishing up that day. So
Yeah.
when I looked at it, though, you and we have work that we're doing together right now in a different council. So like, I think that as we overlap and the veil starts to get thin and we start to be able to see through all the places that we are, like, it just becomes one big pot of soup instead of each individual ingredient.
Yeah. I think we can safely say all of us who comes on this show is part of the big soup.
Yeah.
And you know, it has to do with the heart. And you know, I've been fighting this forever, you know, and I'm not. We just need to understand the heart now. How, in an even more expansive way, you know, what we are actually doing.
Even your dream story with the hurricane, it's very similar to my story with the hurricane going through the mountains.
Absolutely.
Themes.
And we went straight into creating, because we literally just did all of this to get those soul codes in. It wasn't even though there was a horror we had to get out. No, no, no. We went to the shop to get the cars. You know, we literally went there, right? We created all of that. So that I didn't even think about this before, because that's, you know, and that's part of that sovereignty, that feminine, that's like, of course, in every man as well, to just get out there, whatever it takes. We got to do whatever it takes. And, you know, as a sovereign being that is totally source connected and just expanded, well, of course. And that kind of, and this is what movement is all about. And of course, we're learning more and more as we're learning about the plasma and activating, and of course, learning about the black hole so much at the moment, you know, because this is out there, and the spin is there. Without the spin, there's no gravity. Without the spin, there's no reality. So this is where this is coming through. And, you know, I have to laugh because in the UK, when I watched the news the other day, and it's like, they talk so much about the black holes, but in the wrong way. It's like the conservatives, they're like a black hole and everything, all our funds got swallowed up. And, you know, and I'm like, it's so not what a black hole is, right? And
I mean, yes, it is, and it does have that encoding in the falling matrix.
in the false one. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And I think,
I mean, we're talking about it in a different context, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
just to
yeah.
be clear, there's two different ways to look at it.
And that's actually a very good point you're making, because that's another way of looking at our expanded workspace here. We are not just here to keep ourselves nice and little sovereign, you know, as an isolated little human being, but to literally combine or out-create or transform the primordial matrix with the fake one, you know? So it's no longer like having to get out of the false matrix, but it's understanding it where it is, and then just combining it and out creating it. Destruction and rebirth, you know, through the out creation. Yeah, so the game is getting bigger as we are understanding more our expanded, extended space that we occupy. That comes with new boundaries, with new understandings. And I love what Hussein is saying. He says spirituality is pretty much not understood physics. Because I mean, the guy can pretty much, the way he's working, and I wouldn't understand a fucking word he's saying if that is not what he's doing. He's coming from that space, because I don't understand his equations. I understand him on a different level. And he doesn't really talk about spirituality, but he talks about, you know, I don't know, it's just his energy that you translate in a different way. And then there are certain things, instead of saying, you know, instead of you are in this space, you are the extension of space. And that in itself, I mean, it's just one little sentence. Or, you know, boundaries, you know, boundaries create relationships. Now, okay, so this is really important, because some people say, well, boundaries and relation, we talked about this, of course, relationship need boundaries. That's totally different meaning. Relationships need boundaries. And now let's turn it around. Boundaries define relationships. It's different. Can you feel the difference? For me, it was like, it's just like, oh, that is completely different.
No, this rings very true to me, especially when I look at it when I was very interested in liminal space, you know, the liminal, the in-betweens, I always look at it when you're on a sidewalk and then you have the street. Imagine what is, you know, you standing on the sidewalk, but then you have the street. So there is, in this liminal space, there is so much going on, because you can step from one legal into illegal. You can, you know, there is everything. There is, the sidewalk is clean, the street is dirty, there is the sewage, there is, you know, the gutter, that is just another liminal space. But, you know, it's just, and everything there is boundaries, right? And you have a different relationship to those boundaries. But where are they fixed? Who fixes them? You know, what, they are just another matrix, another mind game, another setting, in a sense, because literally it's just cement upon cement, or, you know, whatever your sidewalk is made of, or your street is made of. And then you're like, okay, but still, if I'm stepping in here, I'm in a completely different setting than I'm here. And I love this, because that is, you know, it's the relation, but it's a boundary. And this in physics, certainly, you know, because the boundaries, because of the different energies and feelings and frequencies and what have you not, there have to be, the boundary actually does define the relationship, because that is how, maybe you can speak, maybe you can use it, or maybe not. Maybe it's explosive, or it gasifies, or it alchemizes, or whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think about what you're saying, Sandrine, makes me think about my dog and how she understands boundaries when we're walking. So she walks off leash, usually in the city. You know, we trained her since she's a puppy to stay on the sidewalk, to not run in the street. And here there's sidewalks. But when we go watch the dogs in the East Bay, they don't have sidewalks. So I have to put her on the leash, because she doesn't understand that that boundary doesn't exist, right? That she wanders into the street because we're just walking on the side of the road on dirt, right? Instead of on a defined sidewalk with a curb.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
And
no matter where we go, right? My point is that whether it's cultural or energetic, we all have our own idea of what those boundaries and what that open space is. And then when we're lifted up and put into a different situation, you know, we need to readapt.
Yep. And of course, you know, with the unified physics, what it shows, it doesn't matter how far you expand the boundary, you're still the macro, the macro in the micro. And yet you need to define the boundaries in order to measure it. And that's where matter comes in. Because we can also, we are quantum soup, we're source. Okay, so what are we going to do with this now? We wouldn't have an interaction. We wouldn't have a relationship. If we haven't got a relationship that, you know, Tanya defined as Tanya, me defined as me, and everyone else, then we wouldn't be able to relate with each other. That doesn't mean that we are separate from each other, but that allows us to have an experience, right? We're still source, and at the same time, through the boundaries, we are defining a way of communicating, a way of participating in this universe. This is a participatory universe. And without the boundaries, we can't participate, right? And that's why we need the simulation, the matrix. And that's good, but we don't need the fake one, the manipulated one. We need the real one. So Sandrine was saying something more. She was saying, you know, space and space, step from one space to the other space. Now, what's between the two spaces? This is where the infinite possibilities are, because everything else is already defined. So everything else we have already defined. So we have a Tanya and a Martina here, defined as I am through our certain personality traits that have been created through our experiences, blah, blah, blah. But what's between us? There's something totally undefined that we can still define, the infinite possibilities. So at times, like when I have to sign off, Mary, okay, see you soon, Pops. So
Sweet.
it's like,
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
hey, see you soon. So this is where we talk about we're being the white canvas, you know? It's like, yeah, we make a brush stroke and that's the brush stroke, but that's no longer interesting, because the interesting thing is what is next to the brush stroke in order to make the other one, you know? So it's like reading between the lines. So I think, and this is what we're more and more, as we're redefining our boundaries, we're redefining our relationships, we're redefining our perceptions. This is where, you know, some people fall away and new people come in, because all of a sudden we can be seen to a certain different boundary that couldn't see us before, because we extended into a bigger space that they can see us. Right? There's a very interesting example. When I did Access, there was one of the examples like talking about how to value yourself, right? And it was about a real estate person putting a house on the market. And you know, when you go onto a real estate website, you put in, okay, up to 500,000, la la la, that. So, and some people who have, you know, lots of money, they wouldn't even be below 500. They don't want to even know. So they put in, you know, minimum 1 million up to. So when you put your value of your house on too low, you don't even fall into the search range, because they only start with 1 million. So that makes us, you know, think of the self-value. If we don't value ourselves, if we put our boundaries around us, if we limit ourselves, we strangle ourselves, we keep ourselves limited, people cannot see us until we start expanding out. And once we start expanding out, the more we can expand out, not everyone is going to feel grounded when you expand. But I really invite people to look at that, because I know what it feels when I'm ungrounded. And it's not when I'm expanded out. It's when I'm trying to fit in the box, when I'm going into detail. That's when I become ungrounded. And the more, and also the feminine for me is the expanded space. Then I can become soft and feminine. When I'm too masculine, for me, it's like I'm too detailed. It's like when I used to work in a corporate. I mean, you create with that, but then you don't create in isolation. You create with source, and source is whoosh. So it's like, and I don't even see a balance. It's not, for me, it's not a balance. It's a simultaneous co-creation. It's a giving and the receiving, you know, the giving from the feminine, from the source. I'm not saying source is feminine. So this is the wrong way. That's the way I'm perceiving it. And then for me, the masculine is more the giving, the receiving. That's for me. And that's also being confirmed through my source code, funny enough, but that totally works for me. And just getting that in tune. And sometimes okay, sorry, this is my representation. Sometimes you got to be more source, open to source, more open, more expanded, because information is coming in. And this is sometimes where you're not doing anything. And you feel, oh, what the fuck is going on? I'm not doing anything. But you're you're expanding your boundaries to extend your space to download information. And you don't know what you're downloading. And then it's hanging around in all these pockets. And then you got to find a way of coming back in and then start downloading those bit by bit. But they're not going anywhere. You don't have to, when I say download, doesn't mean that you have to stick them all in your body until you explode and get bloated. No, what I'm saying is whatever it means for you, download information. Frankly, what I have done now is, because I know I've got all these information hanging about, and it doesn't make me feel comfortable. Some people don't mind, because they just tap in when they need it. For me, it makes me, because I'm a bit of an order freak, creating order out of chaos, I had to order it. So what I did was I created myself a separate timeline, like a little, storage. I took the information down, I've thrown it into a vacuum because I needed to clean it. Part of the reason why I didn't download it was because it's a bit of Isa actually reminded me of that, because not all the information that comes in is clean. So you don't want to download. So I just cleaned it now. I throw it into that vacuum like a washing machine, and I throw everything in it like I wash my own washing. I don't care if it comes out green or black or whatever. And I throw it all in. And then I thought, okay, let me put it on a separate timeline. So at least I know it. And then I put it into chars for some reason. I said, how do I want to put the chars? And I'm thinking, so how do I label the various chars now, right? And what happened was it came through in colors. So I have the separate timeline now where I got pots, big pots of colors, paint. And now I can access, if I want a yellow, I'll take the yellow, and that's how I paint. I use my paints. These are my paint pots now. And by the way, anyone who wants, this is a timeline that I've opened up, and it's safe, it's clean, and you have access if you want to access it. It's all in colors, in different colors. And that makes me feel like, and I'm feeling, interestingly enough, less bloated. I'm feeling less, because I need that. And then when I thought, you're making shit up, Gudmüller, right? And I'm like, this is exactly how you deal with information when it comes in. When I get information, I make copies, I have my folders. Emma is totally different. When I look at her computer, it freaks me the fuck out. There's like documents everywhere. No, I can't have that. I have folders, subfolders, folders, subfolders, and that's where I put it. And I might never look at it again, and that's fine, but it makes me feel it's there. It's clean and it's there. And
I even organize my emails, okay? So
yeah, surprised me. Mine are mainly spam, so I don't care, just throw them out. But and this is like, I'm not saying anyone has to do this, but you have to know who you are. And I create order out of chaos. I work with the DNA. I'm a seeder of DNA. I'm a reorder of DNA. I'm going to be here to reactivate DNA, to reorder it. And you know what? The other thing I have to say, which has come through for me, is like, over the years, and everything is sort of validated through certain synchronicities, right? It's not that people have to tell me this is right or wrong. For instance, when I found out that I was a seeder of information, makes a lot of sense. How many times do you know me say things, and then I can't do like Tanya. So this is the movie, and this is the mountain. I have no fucking idea where this is, because I just put the seed forward. Do what you want with it. How many years have I beaten myself up for not being more detailed? I'm a seeder. Now, how many years have people brought me seeds or plants, little plants, to put into the soil? And I'm like, are you joking? I can't do this. Through, I think, COVID, I thought, okay, let's put some fucking tomato plants in. I'd have no love for this, because that freaks me out. That doesn't ground me. I can see DNA, in the universe, in the galaxy, in humanity, but I can't see the fucking little tomato plant because it freaks me out. Now, this is all confirmed. I'm like, okay, it makes total sense. I beat myself up. Many years, people come, they bring me flowers. And why do they do that? Because they want to remind me of something. The majority of people thought I need to be more nurturing. I'm thinking, I'm not nurturing. No, I see DNA, people. Why would I bother with the sunflower?
sorry, the woman says she's not nurturing, says the woman who's sending me pictures of jeans, you know, in my size in the UK, asking me if she should buy it for me. You know, she's not nurturing. No, not at all.
I didn't think you should. I didn't say I'm not nurturing. I just, you know, there's feminine and there's feminine, and I have definitely a very strong sense of femininity that doesn't necessarily come across nurturing to those who do not vibe with the frequency that we are. I mean, you all know I'm a sweetie. No, but that's what I'm trying to say. So look at when that kind of information comes in and you think, oh, how will I ever be able to validate that? Well, you can. Because literally this lifetime is the validation for you. Everything that you're being told from now on, or you're starting to dream, or you think you're making shit up, yeah, MSU, you can validate it through this particular lifetime. Because remember, everything past, present, and future is happening right now. So look around you. What are you buying? What kind of people are, what are you eating? How do you, you know, where do you go? Yeah, exactly. So she was obviously a lamb or a goat or something in a different lifetime. No, but you know what I mean? Everything you can. And it doesn't necessarily come right away. It might come in a dream. Okay, I've got a dream, girls, which I need some help with. I had a dream the other day that my mom was a bit fragile, so she wasn't in good shape. So I thought the best thing to do is I put her in a little Tupperware, yeah, and put a plastic little Tupperware, you know, those takeaway Tupperwares, and put a plastic lid on it. And I thought, okay, so it keeps her safe, and then, you know, I'll take her to the hospital or something. The next thing is I'm standing on this huge high riser, and by mistake, I drop the bloody Tupperware. And I'm like, oh my God, she's not going to survive now, you know. 2 seconds later, she's standing next to me saying, oh, I feel a bit achy, but no, I'm all right. I said, are you okay? You should be dead. No, I'm fine. That kind of dream I have. What is that? Any ideas?
Okay, other than, you know, the cat has 7 lives,
Yeah,
she's a bit achy, but I mean, she's coming back. You wanted to get rid of, I mean, you accidentally wanted to get rid of her. You dropped her.
No,
but no, just let us go there, because you accidentally dropped her, because there was something there.
I did actually, and
there was something there that caught your attention that was more important than holding on to that container. You know?
To me, this has to do with the DNA coding of your maternal ancestral lineage and kicking the can down the road. Like the fragility of your mom and you having to protect her and insulate her from the work that she had signed up to do within that ancestral lineage, but hasn't done, has created the fragility within her. That doesn't mean that you need to take it from her, but dropping her was almost like a shake-up, you know, a wake-up, shake-up, where after that she was like, oh, okay, maybe I can handle it now.
I love
you
that.
don't need to handle her work, you know, and that speaks back to letting that information flow through you, right, instead of letting it stick and owning what you don't need to own.
I love that.
You know, being born in Austria, you said you were very clear that you didn't need to do the transmutation of the land there, but maybe she does.
Yeah, she's
trying to reflect that back to you, reflect that back to you, reflect that back to you.
Yeah. And also, I did tell her about the dream. And also my uncle, your auntie, my uncle had passed as well, who was her favorite brother. Yeah. So maybe it was also saying, hey, like you say, Tanya, you can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And she has been coming back so many times, you know. She's a Stehaufmandel. What do you say that in English? Stehaufmandel.
Yeah, she just gets up again.
Up, down, you know.
Yeah.
That was exactly.
She falls down, she gets up again, falls down, she gets up again.
that's who she is. Oh, that's fun. Yeah. And of course, I suppose we can also take that now to the feminine energy, right? The feminine energy within me that I'm starting to awaken more and more and more, starting with the painting and now having a new understanding of the goddess feminine energy. Yeah, I'm just speaking out. We have goddess
Mother goddess.
Yeah.
Moonstone. There's
It's
some moonstone for us.
Moonstone. Yeah. I have lots of moonstone. Yeah. So, you know, and that again, we have this like, yeah, we've worked a lot with the dog, but now don't be afraid of the light.
Well, this is where, this is where my connection with the mermaid comes in, because the book that I read from this French author, he links the mermaid myth, to the light beings. You know how in Japan they have the myth that they were created from two serpent-like people, which were also light beings. And this is the same lineage in a sense, but just, in the European setting. But still that the mermaid was, one of these light serpent-like light beings, android. And because it's just too much to put everything into this space now, and I also need to leave soon for the course. But just saying, so my interest in the mermaid again, and also coming from a place where it's called Luxembourg. Lux means light in Latin, right? They state that it comes from the Celtic, which says Lucilin Buruk, which means little castle. But I'm not buying that currently, because I'm like, no, this is because we have also the myth of the mermaid in our country, you see. And so it's very interesting for me to explore this more, and I will do that. And I will also, now that I'm here in the country, I will actually also go to the National Archives and see if I can find, some old somethings on that.
There's an Aliens episode called The Gods of Sirius B, and they talk about the Dogon people, the Dogo, Dogos, Dogon.
From Mali. Those are the ones from Mali.
From Southern Africa as well. But they're water people, they're mer people.
Mm.
It's a fascinating episode.
Mm.
I just dropped it in the chat.
Thank you, Schnook.
Thank you.
Do a favor, and because I lose that one. No, I still have it somewhere. But you can always put it underneath when I put the recording out.
Yes, I will. I will do it.
Okay, so this is important. The merfolk, the Dogons, you said. We got to add the Apollonians, from Avatar, because the water is really, really important together with the heart, because it's the DNA connection. And as we're changing the water, the manipulated water, our manipulated DNA back to the primordial DNA, the water, and this is why also the ocean codes are switching on. So we need to think of the Lyrans in particular, plus the merfolk or whatever comes in on that water in combination with the DNA. Because DNA heart activation is another link. So heart DNA, seeding new DNA, up to the 24 strands and all of that. So we got lots of work to do, babe. Yep. So a couple more trips, Tanya. A couple more trips. Couple more, a little bit of spinning in dream time, and
and your gold symbol behind you is tripping me out, because Every time I'm like looking at someone else and you're talking and it's moving, it's shifting and it's spinning
It's
and
spinning.
it's rippling and it is activating codes
Oh my God.
in
Now,
our
so
soul.
I have to give credit and make a mention who made that amazing piece here, who is my friend Sue Hopkins from Liverpool. She's the artist of that disc. And yeah, we are activating. This is our golden Prius. So anyone who wants to come on a spinning ride?
Anybody want to ride? Here we go.
Well,
Buckle
you have
up.
you have to come and get me the next time in your dream time, because I'm still stuck in reordering and rearranging and re-putting things back into places. That is what I'm doing since I'm back here. I'm
Yes.
rearranging things. I'm rearranging. Yeah, it's obvious now, but also within the dream and with the people that I'm doing, I'm rearranging them. I'm rearranging here, and I'm doing this and that, and it's again, a lot of running through the aisles and pulling things left and right together. So, but
And
there was
as you're doing that within you, it's rippling outwards into
no,
your
I
community
get
and into
that,
the space.
but it would be
It's really, yeah.
would be cool to have some fun and not play the supermarket aisle keeper,
Absolutely no problem. Look out for the Prius, the golden Prius.
Okay. I will.
And you pay the booze afterwards. You pay the pints.
That's right.
Just because I'm from Luxembourg, that's why, right? Because I don't pay any
No,
taxes.
because
That's
you're the
right.
mermaid. You got the liquid
mermaid.
plasma water in you. No, we take turns. We take turns.
Okay, it's not an issue. It's not a problem. Sweethearts, love talking to you guys. Stay in touch and see you soon.
Yes. Have a good lesson now. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. How are we doing, girls? Yeah, well, we're doing okay. We're almost, 2 hours. Herminia, we haven't heard from you. What do you think about the golden Prius spinning in the backgrounds, spitting out new DNA code?
It's funny. My uncle had one of those.
Say again, you have one?
My uncle had one of those. It's because I'm in silent because here in the office and there's a lot of people. But I was looking at because my uncle has one of those.
All right.
He used it to put it in her hands and then go with the finger all around. I don't know where he got that one. I got to ask him.
What you got there, Tanya?
Oh, this is an Andara, a golden Andara.
Golden.
I just wanted to share it. It wanted to be seen.
Good. We acknowledge you, Andara. Golden.
Wow.
Amazing. Nice. It has the sparkles inside, huh?
Yeah.
Amazing.
I see you next week, guys.
Yes. All right, darling. All right. Thank you. Cheers, Herminia. Okay, so concluding words.
Stay golden. Bring in your light. Allow the portals of the heart, mind, the Dantian merge together and spin. And I mean, just remember, we're more than we've been told. We're so much more than we've been taught and we've been told. So listen, just listen, and you'll feel that.
Listen between the spaces. What are those places between the spaces are telling you, And it's a really cool exercise to do, actually, Whatever it is you've got a picture now, just put your hands onto the empty space and realize it's actually not that empty. See what comes through. What wants to be heard, and then you can just write it down. And even though it might not make sense in the beginning, it might start making sense later on. And of course, the other thing is, if you want to join us in our explorations, that will be, getting more and more concrete, I would say, as we are moving closer, to our, knowingness, what we are actually really here for, in addition to what we have already done. There's more to come, and we will put that forward whenever we are ready. whenever you guys are ready. Yeah, not you, obviously, you're ready, I know.
Jen has a rainbow. Jen has a rainbow on her throat.
Oh, look at that, throat activation.
They're all over my
Oh, now on her third eye.
And now she's showing off. Look at that.
Oh,
Amazing.
lovely. That's lovely.
Beautiful. Oh, thanks,
Great.
beautiful people. Thanks.
Thank
for being
you.
here.
Big hugs, and
Big
we'll see you all
hug.
next week.
What is-
Thank you guys. Have a great day. I'll listen the recording.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye. Bye. Bye.